Welcome to Strategy Saturday. I'm Charles Carillo, and today we're discussing tenant renewal rate, what it is, why it matters, and how it directly impacts your rental property's profit. We'll walk through how to calculate it, what the national numbers look like, and the key factors that drive tenants to either stay or leave. So let's get started. The tenant retention rate is a percentage of tenants who renew their lease rather than move out once their lease expires. So one thing I'm a staunch believer in is that tenant retention is a keystone of successful rental property investing. So how do you calculate the tenant renewal rate? Well, the tenant renewal rate is obtained by dividing the number of renewed leases by the number of expiring leases, and then multiplying by 100. So for example, if you divide 70 renewed leases by 100 expiring leases, you would have a tenant retention rate of 70%. So what are the current US apartment renewal rates? So over the past 12 months, the US apartment renewal rate has been 54%, which is up about 3% from 2019. Now this differs depending on the type and class of property according to RealPage. Now Class A and B properties on average experience a 60% renewal rate, while Class C properties on average experience a 57% renewal rate based on statistics from institutional property advisors. So why does the tenant renewal rate matter so much? So as a multifamily investor, tenant turnover is extremely expensive, and it's not uncommon for these costs to exceed $5,000, including renovation costs, lost rent, and marketing. So just having your tenants renew for an additional year allows you to spread that make-ready cost and a lost rent cost over 24 months instead of just 12. Reduced turnover costs improve the net operating income or NOI, and it shows your team and a potential buyer's team that there is tenant satisfaction at your property. And this is usually due to good property management. A potential buyer who notices a low renewal lease rate might avoid that property since it signals possible issues, whereas another buyer might see that as an opportunity, maybe a value add buyer. So what are the key factors that influence renewal rates? Number one are rent increases. Now, by far, one of the biggest factors in lease renewal rates is the rent increase imposed by property management. Number two is property management. So if property management responds quickly to issues and keeps a property in good condition with repairs and updates, it pushes renewal rates higher even with rent increases. Now, there's a point at which one outweighs the other, usually based on market conditions and the tenant's financial situation. Number three is market conditions. So a high supply of new apartments can push down rents across the market as developers offer large incentives to lease up their properties that are new. Now, as these lease incentives burn off, the market comes back to an equilibrium. Number four is home ownership. So tenants who are not renewing because they are buying homes is a factor out of the landlord's control. Now, while tenants renewing because they cannot afford to purchase a home boosts the property's renewal rate. So in closing, knowing national renewal rate stats is good, and knowing local renewal stats is great, but knowing your property's renewal rate is the best. And my goal is to improve the renewal rate at our properties year over year. And that is where you can show your investors and yourself the value that you are creating by correctly managing your properties. And if you want to learn more on how to retain excellent tenants, please check out episode SS50, that's SS50. And we also have an episode specifically on tenant retention, and that is episode SS164. That's episode SS164. So I hope you enjoyed. Please remember to rate, review, subscribe, submit comments and potential show topics at globalinvestorspodcast.com. If you're interested in actively investing in real estate, please check out our courses and mentoring programs at syndicationsuperstars.com. That is syndicationsuperstars.com. Look forward to 2 more episodes next week. See you then.
Have you always wanted to invest in real estate but didn't have the time, didn't know where to find the deals, couldn't get the funding, and didn't want tenants calling you? Since 2006, I've been buying income-producing properties in great locations that provide us with consistent passive income while we wait for appreciation in the future and take advantage of tax laws while we're waiting. And unlike your financial advisor, we invest alongside our investors in every property we purchase. Check out investwithharborside.com. If you like the idea of investing in real estate, if you like the idea of passive income, partner with us at investwithharborside.com. That's investwithharborside.com.
Nothing in this episode should be considered specific, personal, or professional advice. Any investment opportunities mentioned on this podcast are limited to accredited investors. Any investments will only be made with proper disclosure, subscription documentation, and are subject to all applicable laws. Please consult an appropriate tax, legal, real estate, financial, or business professional for individualized advice. Opinions of guests are their own. Information is not guaranteed. All investment strategies have the potential for profit or loss. The host is operating on behalf of Syndication Superstars, LLC exclusively.